Alright, so how's it going, everybody? My name's Chris Aldana, and today I'll be going over the 1988 Amphil campaign. This is also known as the Kurdish genocide. So, just gonna give some introduction. From the 1960s to the late 1990s, the Kurds were involved in the height of the war between Iran and Iraq, and was conducted to retaliation to the Kurdish in support of Iran. So, these attacks were named Al-Afo by Saddam Hussein and his cousin Ali Hassan al-Majid, also known as Chemical Ali. So what Saddam Hussein did was pass over the power to Majid, giving him the ability to conduct a campaign that would get rid of all the northern uh, Kurdish people and disseminate them, disseminate the Kurdish communities that lived in northern Iraq, and force hundreds of thousands of Kurds to relocate to the barren land of southern Iraq. The Iraqi named this campaign of destruction Amphil, or the Kurdish genocide. So, who are the Kurds? The Kurds are mountain people, and who inhabit a region encompassing parts of Turkey, Iraq, Syria, and Iran. So the majority of Kurds live in Kurdistan, which is basically a borderless homeland that is divided among neighboring countries like Turkey, Iraq, Syria, and Iran. Kurdistan, where the Kurds are located, are often called the largest non-state. So by the earliest 21st century, there were more than 25 million Kurds living in the surrounding neighboring countries by it. So it's also the fourth largest ethnic group in the Middle East. And since the dissolution of the Ottoman Empire, they've been struggling to form a state of their own and it hasn't been much success. But during the World War One, they thought they were gonna have some boundaries make them have like a state for themselves. But their hopes were dashed 3 years later when the Treaty of Lausanne, which stated the boundaries of modern Turkey and made no provision for the Kurdish state and left the Kurds with a minority status in their four countries. So in this next slide, we have a map, and it's of Kurdistan in Turkey, Syria, Iraq, and Iran, and it's basically showing the majority of Kurds that live in each four of these sections. So the number of Kurds in the four parts of Kurdistan and within the borders of the four countries that have been divided it up between themselves is between the range of 37 million to 57 million. And Kurdistan is about the same size as France, if you're really going to put it in perspective. So there are artificial borders that surround it that the Kurdish people know about, since the interests of forces that did the dividing and the balances of power that gave them these invisible lines and visible boundaries. So what was the Kurdish genocide? So before the Kurdish genocide happened, on October 17, 1987, the Iraqi government conducted a census that gave the Iraqi Kurds the final chance to either fight as an Arab or as a Kurd. This Amphil campaign in 1988 was a genocidal military operation led by Saddam Hussein, but left the campaign over to his cousin Ali Hassan al-Majid. So Saddam Hussein's regime was against the Kurds of northern Iraq. This genocide took place during the Iran and Iraq War between 1980 and 1988, and Saddam Hussein saw the Kurds as vulnerable and wanted to vanquish them and perceived them more as a threat than anything. So also during 1988, once the tides have turned down for the Iraq and the war, Saddam Hussein, he pursued his campaign to ensure the Kurds are no longer hovering over northern Iraq. So Saddam committed significant military resources to the continuing extermination of the Kurdish population, which had become his regime's second priority after the war itself. Saddam knew that he could get away with this since it was the thickening of the war and towards the finale of it. But in Saddam's mind, he thought about Kurdish people, and he had a visual of them being more of a threat to Iraq, and they were an impediment to Saddam's ultimate dream of building a powerful and expansive state as the nucleus of the future pan-Arab emporium. So this set the stage for Saddam, who would eliminate the Kurdish community under the banner of counterinsurgency. And what the Kurdish genocide did was drop a big chemical bomb on Habja, which is in the border. And what the Iraqi army did was drop gas bombs on the Kurdish town, and it killed over 5,000, injuring 7,000 Kurds. So this genocide was on its own people and was just as near as bad as the Holocaust, if you could say. So how were the Kurds affected? So hundreds of thousands of Kurds, innocent people, perished, and families were torn apart. Many still lived with severe health issues from the chemicals that were there in the aftermath. So Iraqi army trapped. So during this genocide, the Iraqi army trapped, held captive, held air chemical attacks, and conducted ground attacks to eliminate target areas to get the Kurdish people out of the area and get them somewhere else. So the Kurdish people had to get separated by gender and age, and women were sent off to rich men and were doing other stuff for them, or either sent to termination camps, or you could be a male and loaded onto trucks and probably never seen again, or going somewhere, who knows, but most likely ending up dead. So during this 8-month span of this war, about 1,200 Kurdish villages were destroyed, and 50,000 to 100,000 Kurdish deaths were upon here. Maybe even more. There was articles saying that there could have been from 100,000 to 150,000 to 200,000 to even more. Like, they wouldn't even know. So everything started to cool down by mid-April 1991, and out of the 400,000 Kurdish refugees that were en route to Turkey, they escaped Saddam's genocide, and this was due to the U.S. giving the Operation Provide Comfort Act. But even though they were back after this genocide and everything was cooled down, it left big scars in the Kurdish community and the minds of their people. So what we want to know is, did the United States supply Saddam Hussein with biological weapons in the 1980s? So the United States had a partnership with Iraq during the 1980 and 1980 war against Iran. And this included the Bush administration officials, and the U.S. provided intelligence and aided to Iraq and ensured that they would not be defeated by Iran, and sent a high-level presidential envoy named Donald Rumsfeld to shake hands with Saddam. And in the right corner right here, this is Saddam, and this is Rumsfeld agreeing on something. And so the Reagan and Bush administration provided Iraqi armies, military advisors, equipment, and blocked international means against Iraq and the responsibilities, even though they were responsible for the ruthless repression. So the U.S. intelligence has been helping Saddam's party since 1963, and also to mention what the Bush and Reagan administration was providing was like anthrax, plagues for chemical warfare, and provided about like 2 dozen viral bacterials to Iraqi scientists to help train this weapon of mass destruction that led to Saddam's mass genocide on the Kurdish people. And in the 1980s, the U.S. and Britain backed Saddam in the war against Iran, giving them money, satellite intelligence, weapons, chemicals, and this led to the Habja gassing. And from survivors, it was the Iraqi people, and you could tell that it was U.S.-made helicopters that killed thousands of Kurdish people that were flying over, and survivors saw that. And there's people saying that, articles saying that there's facts about it. So Saddam Hussein was the only one that had an alliance with the United States. There's also the Kurds. So towards the end of the Iran-Iraq War, the United States led coalition forces to destroy the Iraqi army. Kurdish and Shadi leaders had taken seriously U.S. propaganda appeals to challenge Saddam. The United States made a push for Kurds and Saudi insurgents to defeat the Iraqi leaders, and by 1991 the United States offered the Kurds a helping hand with the Operation Provide Comfort, which was a 21,000 U.S.-led forces and strong U.S. pressure and that withdrew Iraqi forces from the Kurdish regions. And once this was all taken care of and everything was peaches over in Kurdistan, the Kurdish minorities came to their own government without the chaos. So this led to two parties, the Kurdistan Democratic Party and the Patriotic Union of Kurdistan. So the next slide is a video, and it's a 2-minute video about a woman who lost her husband and her four kids during this chemical warfare. And she was just saying how she misses them and how life before it was just perfect, and now there's just dreams and things that she can't get out of her head, and she just wishes it wasn't there, and she wishes she was with them like right now.
هاتمەوە تەچێتە پیاوەکەمان مابوو عیب نەبێ وڵا خانوێکمان کرد و بە هەردووە مەخسە بە هەردووکمان کردمان وڵا چوینە ناوی تا دانیشتین وڵا ئەوەندەی پێنووس و پیاوەکەمان عەمری خوا هەری چیمایەکە بوو لێ کرد بە سەرەتا چیماکە ئەو پیاوە ئێمەش هەر بە چیماکە مرد منداڵەکان چۆن وڵا بیری هەمویانەکەم چۆن بیریان ناکەم هی عەلی محەممەد هی زارا هی سەبیح چۆن بیریان ناکەم زەرعاتمانە کرد دەغڵمانە کرد کاسپیمانە کرد پەمومانە کرد بیبەرمانە کرد زەرعاتمانە کرد ئەی چۆن نەوەڵا ئەوها بە قوربام ئەرە وڵا کاسپی خۆشمانە بوو ئەرە وڵا ئەمەندە مادر پێ خۆش هەموو دەگوت گوڵی شۆراون داکتان ڕوحی دەرچێ خۆزێ منی لە منان بەو خۆیمان ئەو پێتان برێم هەت کەسێک شە پێی برێن من لە ماری خۆم خەوتوم هەتا خەوم لێەکەوێ بە قورعان مەپرسە کە چۆن خەوم لێەکەوێ کە خەوم لێکەوە دڵ مردووە ئەرێ وەڵا ئێستاش هەتا دەمرم بەتەمە ئێستاش ئەرێ وەڵا شەیوا دێنە کنم خابی لە ڕۆرە.
So that just shows how like sad it is post-genocide and how it really takes an effect on just certain individuals. So for my analysis, I thought the aristocrat apparatus was best fit for my topic because Saddam Hussein and Ali Hassan al-Majid were in charge of these mass murders and could be compared to the Holocaust with the killings of its own civilians, and is considered one of the most systematic planned genocides in human history. So this kind of relates to the apparatus because it is a centralized organization who had a specific group on their side and wanted the destruction of a particular group, a particular population, which was the Kurds. And the campaign's intentions were to eliminate them in northern Iraq. This was intentionally targeting the Kurds due to no similar views between Iraqis and Kurds. They used chemical warfare and ground termination to cause destruction to the Kurdish lives. And then we got my references, and that is all.